Who is a person that everyone thought was crazy, but they ended up being right? My ex-GF. Everyone told me stay away from her while I didn't listen to them. Till one night she went on a drug and drinking binge and came over here and hid in a tree and told me that she was here. So I went out with a baseball bat cussing get out the tree. While then she texted saying that she had a gun, Desert Eagle pistol to be exact. I said do it then. She didn't luckily. I never reported her cause she was 17 and pregnant and didn't have enough money to be bailed out. And then a few months later she passed away while drunk driving. Dr. Barry Marshall, an Australian physician who claimed that ulcers were caused by a bacterial infection, not stress or spicy food, etc., was ignored for many years. Pharmaceutical companies were making a lot of money on ulcer medicines that had to be taken for a lifetime and did nothing to address the root cause. Dr. Marshall eventually swallowed a culture of the bacteria Helicobacter pylori, causing him to develop an ulcer. Now a short course of antibiotics is used to treat ulcers. Probably one of the most iconic moments in modern history, the US being more assertive towards its allies in open forums, being laughed at, and then turns out Trump is more than correct. He understands power and leverage than the top EU cabinet. I'm not surprised considering just how Trump was displayed in the media, even more negatively in the EU. Which really gets to show how news media became a massive echo chamber. Hillary Clinton on two things in 2016 debates. 1. Donald Trump being unwilling to accept a loss in an election and claim it was rigged and stop at nothing to get it overturned. 2. On experience, she claimed that Trump wouldn't know how to handle wartime events, turned out to be the pandemic. Instead, Jordan Chandler derided as a liar about the Michael Jackson abuse, the Wright brothers and Sir Frank Whittle about the possibility of flight and the jet engine, Manberpig, that old vice president, about climate change, Stephen Hawking about black holes. History is resplendent with examples. Me, I have a low thyroid disorder that was misdiagnosed as a variety of mental health issues from age 1943. When I was finally properly diagnosed. One blood test and smart doctor in as I fainted at work changed my life forever. It's actually more common than you would think for this to happen. Bob Lazar, groups within the military-industrial complex and independent contractors like Lockheed Martin and Boeing Phantom works on possession of damned and recovered UFOs being studied and reverse-engineered. Alex Jones used to warn people about the harm flushing drugs down the toilet does. He told people that they even affect the wildlife. Then CNN and other major news networks confirmed his assertion. But instead of praise, he was ridiculed. Alex Jones' story comes to my mind when he said Jeffrey Epstein was trafficking children on his private island and high-status people were going there back in 2010. If there's something that can be taken from this, is that even a complete POS who spreads disinformation and occasionally be completely right. Lindy Chamberlain Creighton, the dingo lady. People thought she killed her baby, but turns out a dingo did eat her baby. Britney Spears, the Leave Britney Alone guy. Courtney Love spoke out against Weinstein very early on in the game. Really hoping no one says Kanye. Nobody told me about any conspiracy, and I would think I'd be in the loop about it. The guy who swore people were tunneling under his apartment speaking Yiddish. Turns out, years later, there was the guy who everyone thought was crazy for hearing Yiddish from underneath his floors. He had no basement. David Vicki would bang on about a private island elites would go to so they could have sex with children. The guy who said you should wash your hands before delivering a baby was put in a mental asylum. The guy who claimed that microorganisms cause people to die before the microscope was invented. Al Gore. Although an insane number of people still think man-made climate isn't real somehow. Ron Paul, especially about funding foreign wars and the Federal Reserve printing money. Dave Chappelle about what was going on in Hollywood during his Chappelle's show years. Using the dropper as evidence. Richard Fuchs was onto Elizabeth Holmes pretty early on. Ralph Nader, the guy who lobbied for seatbelt use be a requirement while driving. I'll save my answer for when this question gets asked again on Tuesday. The man who heard Yiddish under his NYC apartment on the first floor. Russ Feingold, The only US senator to vote against the Patriot Act. Johnny Rotten called out Jimmy Savile in the late 70s. Frank Zappa, that guy who could hear Jews digging under his apartment. The Chicks, X-to-OOB. Ross Perot, X-to-OOB. Ralph Nader, my AHS teacher about my AHS girlfriend. She was a whore.